Welcome back to Cheeky Mare Stitches. Today I am going to be doing this mini makes patchwork earring kit. I am making a quilt for my brother's wedding in September, and the wedding shower is the first weekend in June, and so I won't have his quilt done, but I do have enough time to make something with the fabric that I chose. So this video will be coming out the day after the shower so that my future sister-in-law can watch it if she wants. I thought having some earrings, because my future sister-in-law loves dangly earrings. I do not love dangly earrings, or else I'd make myself a set as well. I don't like things touching my neck. But she loves them and looks beautiful in them. So anyway, their fabrics are mulberry, which is kind of a maroon, brown, purple. And I couldn't find an exact match, so I got several fabrics that were close and did kind of an ombre. This one's pretty close to the mulberry. Anyway, for these earrings, you don't need a whole lot of fabric, which is good because, you know, I can use up some of the scraps that I've got. And then, so the second accent, or the accent color, I think mainly for my brother's benefit, is navy blue. So I've got some ombre batiks in different shades of blue as well. That looks pretty nice. They're also using a green accent, but I'm not going to put that in these earrings, mainly because there's not enough fabric to do that. There's not enough fabric choices. Slots, I guess, fabric slots to do that. So I'm not going to. In fact, I probably won't even use all of the blues because there's not enough fabric slots. So in the kit, you get 2 pieces, and this is English paper piecing because it's tiny. The finished size is 2 inches, so tiny, tiny. The middle is a colored fabric, so black one, or fabric one, is a color. And I will probably, how many colors do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So I'm going to end with the navy blue that I've got, and there's some purple in this navy blue, so that'll go. And then I'll do the mulberry-ish. Should I do that? That and then the mulberry, and then we'll do the lightest kind of mulberry color. That may be too dark of a contrast, so maybe I will do this one. Yeah, I like that. 1, 2, 3, yep, 4. So those are my 4 colors, and then this is my background. In the instructions, it says cut each fabric approximately 3/4 to an inch wide and long enough to cover the piece, with a 1/4 inch overhang on each side. All right, so I'm going to cut each of these into a 1-inch strip. And this is going to be way more than I'm going to need, but you don't have to be super precise with this kind of cutting, because English paper piecing, the papers will make it more precise. All right. Now some of the background. And this is the same background that will be in the quilt. Alrighty. And now we need to cut out the papers. And I'm going to use the same rotary cutter. I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch all the way around, just in case. I don't mind using the same rotary cutter with papers if you want to. I have to buy blades anyway, and this one's a fairly old blade, so it's about ready to be replaced anyway. I'm not too worried about dulling it on papers. You probably don't need to go as detailed as I'm doing on cutting the papers out, but I like having it the same shape as needed, or approximately the same shape as needed. All right. All right, so my first one is going to be like this, and I need 2 pieces, and I'm going to make it, because since the center is a square, one is a square, I'm going to just do a 1x1 square, 2 of them. And then it says to place them in the center on the unprinted side. I don't normally do this with paper or foundation paper piecing, but because these are so small, I am going to add a little bit of Soline glue to the center. No, the next color is this one. I need 8 of those. All right. And I'm using batiks, so let me turn on the light there. Sorry, the light was off for the first few minutes. I'm using batiks, so it's not really, can't really make a mistake on which way you place the fabric, but you would put them right sides together. The right is up for the first piece, and then the right side is down on the next piece. And then I'm going to sew on the first line here, back stitching as I go. Back stitching at the points. All right, so that's what it looks like. Now with my pieces of paper still, or my fabric still folded right sides together, I'm going to put a piece of cardstock on the line I just sewed and fold it over. And then put my ruler, and they suggest an 1/8 inch seam allowance, and I'm just going to approximate that. Okay. And now I can fold the piece that I just sewed over. Finger press it. Place the next piece right sides together, and sew on this line. And you may want to lower your stitch length. So again, with my pieces already right sides together, or still right sides together, I'm going to put my cardstock on that line I just stitched. Do an 1/8 inch away. Okay. We will put the next one on there. Don't shorten your stitch length too much because I just cut the piece of paper, but it's going to be okay. And last one for this round. Right sides together. Alrighty, there is round one done. It looks a little wonky, but your square in the middle is exactly the way you want it to be. So now we're going to do round two, which is this fabric. And we need 4 of these, or 8 total. Nice. So same thing, we're going to put them right sides together where the 3 is here. And then we're going to sew on this line. If you want to have a little less bulk, because the way I was going to do it, you're going to have more bulk here. You would put your cardstock on each of the second lines here. And cut away 1/8 of an inch. And that way you'll know exactly where you need to put it to get where you need to be. You can do that on all of them first. If there's too much, if you're afraid of having too much bulk. Make sure none of your pieces got folded back over before you cut them. There we go. So now we have pretty well perfect square within a square, which is what we've got here. And now we are going to place our new fabric right sides together and sew along that line. And because and I have a little bit of a bird's nest back here, but because we pre-did the 1/8 inch seam allowance and lined our fabric up with that, we don't have to go back and cut it again. We can just fold it back over. So now we repeat that process on all 4 of the 3 seams. Fabric 3. Now we place our cardstock along the fabric 4 seam. Do 1/8 inch away. Cut. And comparatively speaking, I am creating quite a bit of waste. Like, I don't, my fabrics don't need to be 1 inch by 1 inch. They could be smaller, but 1 inch by 1 inch overall is not a whole lot of waste. And if you had this folded back, you would see that the waste, having extra fabric, is good. Make sure your fabrics stay put. Oh, I need to do this one next. There we go, square within a square. Now for more of the background. There is round 4. So round 5 needs those, and we're going to line up on the seam between 3 and 5 here. Line up like that. And so on that line, round 5. All right, now we're going to go for round 6, which is another background. Right sides together, place it in the center of the square, and stitch. Now remember, you're stitching on the paper side. All right, there's round 6. Trim for round 7. All right, round 7 is the blue. And I may cut those a little bit bigger, just because they're a little longer. Here we go. Round 7. All right, we're on the last round. Round 8. And that is a background row. And there's really only 2 pieces that we need. I'm going to cut them a little bit bigger so that they fit. All right, put them right sides together right there, and so on the seam line. All right, there is the last round. So the instructions say that you do not need to remove the paper. So, because it'll give it more stability, and you're making earrings, you're not making a quilt. So I'm going to now trim around here. Well, I'm just going to cut on the dark solid lines here until I'm ready to assemble. But I think maybe you need to cut on this dark dotted line here eventually. But I'd rather have extra material to begin with than not have enough. Okay. So normally with English paper piecing, you would remove the papers, but they say not to. Yes, so on the instructions, it says that you should cut on the dotted line. All right, so I've finished the other one, and we're ready for trimming. So trimming here, we are going to cut on the dotted line slash these two solid lines here. And I'm going to leave the paper on like it suggests to give it a little bit more stability, since the seam allowances are only 1/8 of an inch. The next step is to find the pretty side, which is supposedly this side, but there's a little flaw there. See, I've finished one already. I guess we'll use that as the pretty side. And I bought this Gorilla Glue because it's wood glue that dries clear. I put a little dab here. Spread it around so it doesn't get too much bleed over. And I'm making sure that the grain lines go horizontally. And then I'm going to take this piece, the middle piece here, with the loop, and place it on top and line it up. I might put a little bit more glue on this side just so it has. There we go. All right, so now that will act as a center line for the piece. I'm going to make sure that I put it in similarly. See here. Like that, but I'm going to make it a mirror image. So like that. Put it in there. Okay. Use something heavier to set on. Kind of set on it while I get this one prepared. So now you look for the pretty side. This is the pretty side. And you want to make sure the grain line's going horizontal, like I did with this one. I'm going to put some glue on the back side. Right. Place the two together. Put heavy back on. And let it dry. And then we'll be back to show you the finished product.